Next up, we have, where's my list here? We have Lisa Rosen and Shazia Ahmed from Texas Women's University.
Yeah, Katie, I would need some help in getting this set up.
Okay.
Let's try it, and maybe I can make this work. Huh. There we go. Do you all see my notes?
Perfect. No, we don't see the notes, just the slides.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. All right. So I am blessed to be following Frank because we did something similar, but I think we are oddball here because we not only did it for STEM and biology, but we did it for the entire university. And it's not surprising that what the GAs in biology are feeling, the GAs across the board is feeling. And I'm just going to tap this here that, Frank, you're absolutely right. They all wanted to get what you concluded they should get. And my partner in crime, Lisa Rosen, chipped her tooth last night, so she's at the dentist. I would do the best I can. So our research was two-phased. We did a survey followed by an in-depth focus groups, and we did it because we wanted to know what do the graduate students that teach feel they need versus us figuring out, okay, you should get this. So we needed to hear what their anxiety and what their issues are. And we did a survey on teaching self-efficacy, and they reported on the areas they needed more training in. Then we followed it up with focus groups, which were within the people that were surveyed to get a better knowledge of what they wanted. We are Texas Women's University. We do let some men in here and there, but we are in 1901, we started as a women's university where Texas A&M started as a men's university. So we have retained most of our population is female. In our survey, 89% were female, 15% were African American, 14% were Asians, 11% were Latino, and 52% were white. And our survey included not only biology and STEM, but it also included business and humanities. We did do the survey had 5 categories in it, and it was rated from 1 being inefficient to 5 being extremely helpful. We ran a ANOVA on it, and it was not surprising that students felt that they needed most help in the PTDs to provide in classroom management, followed by resolving dispute. But if you really think about it, then resolving dispute is also part of the classroom management. And since the people that we surveyed have either had some training or some departments provide no training, but they have all completed 1 semester of teaching. They felt pretty good about communication, and which is also supported by research because undergraduates see graduate students as more approachable, so they are able to communicate better, and the graduate students are also feeling that they can communicate just fine. One of the other things that came out was time management, and I would reflect on it in a minute. So teaching efficacy, 1 was anxious. Did I go back? No. Okay. So teaching efficacy, 1 was anxious and 5 was really confident, and we ran another ANOVA on it. And overall teaching, they were feeling fine. Student engagement, they felt, graduate student felt that really they were good at it. At teaching strategies and classroom management is where the graduate students identified they need most help with. Following on with a focus group and the the question I want to share here is we asked them, what advice would you offer to new GTA? So they have already done some, and this is what they are feeling in hindsight. They really wanted some resources. So some of the departments just say, okay, go teach this class, and they have nothing. So they can look at some previous syllabi, but if you're teaching it for the first time, they do need those resources. And like Frank pointed out, maybe following somebody, watching an instructor or lab coordinator teach, or a peer teach. Then they also, when they are new, they are hesitant to ask questions. So because they think asking questions would make people think they are dumb, which is not the case. We all know that. We have all lived through that. But they wanted to tell the new graduate students that, hey, it's okay to ask questions. So maybe then we need to create an atmosphere in our professional development to encourage them to ask questions, because like Frank said, they come from different backgrounds, right? So they might have different questions which we might not be addressing. So we want to make sure that we create the environment where we, as conductors of this professional development, are available for the student to ask all kind of questions. The other thing that they pointed out is they took double the amount of time to prep for teaching that they originally thought. So sometimes new graduate students don't realize that it's not the 3 hour in the lab that they are teaching. They spend 6 hours getting ready for this lab and another 2 hours teaching. So maybe we need to be upfront about it, that it's not the time you would spend in the classroom, but also the time you would spend in prepping and then in grading. They were initially afraid, the new graduate students were initially afraid to show their human part. So they were a little afraid to show that they cared, because they thought if they were passionate or express that they can listen actively, that the students would take advantage of them. So this is something that as they taught longer, they became more confident in, but they wanted the new graduate student to realize that, hey, it's okay to show compassion and about other people as well as about your topic. And this would also lead on to, you don't want people teaching monotonously. And when those show passion, you are more engaging, and it's okay to do that. Then this leads into, okay, don't be too nice at the beginning, but you can become nicer, and have clear expectations. And this goes back to the talk before me, that if we identify that this is the target for the graduate students, they have a path, then they would be able to identify the target and the path better for their students. Another thing very important, we all know it as instructors, to be authentic. The graduate students felt hesitant to be authentic and to express it. As their experience grew, they became more confident with it, but that is another thing we can emphasize as we develop these programs for the new graduate students. Our focus group, we found out, and I'm reflecting, I'm blessed to be in the sequence we ended up with, because Frank's study show all of this, that the students then are saying that they need it. They would love to have a mentor throughout the first year. So when we say a year, then we are saying 2 semesters. 1 semester is not enough. You establish that, Frank, and the students are also saying that. So it's coming from the faculty and from the student that 2 semesters are really optimum for them to become somewhat better teachers. I would say becoming the best teacher is a lifelong practice. It's not going to happen in 1 or 2 years, but they need 2 years of guidance. And they need the resources, which include syllabi, grading rubrics, and a GTA community. They found it extremely helpful to meet with GTAs of other departments as well as theirs, because they're a little hesitant within the group of the same department, because the new ones are conscious, what would the senior one think of me? But if the dance person is having the same kind of problem, you're like, oh, everybody has that kind of problem. So establishing a community goes a long way for improving their self-efficacy as instructors and be able to ask questions and make those connections. And also providing a choice as they become more experienced, allowing them the choice, having the discussion, which leads into the supportive leadership that was talked about in a minute, allowing them to develop their own skills because they have their own set of tools to do it with. And that's it. And the buzzer didn't go off either. I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing all that data with us. That's very exciting and very interesting, and definitely does complement Frank's work quite well. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts or comments that you'd like to share?
I would like to add that I've been doing this lab coordinator position for past 20 years, and I'm available for anybody who is new to the position and wants to talk about it.
That's super helpful for sure. Oh, we have a question from Stephanie. Do you have recommendations for connecting TAs across campus? Where she is, we're fairly siloed there.
So our study kind of joined them because they were there and they were in the focus group together and they were in the survey together. We have thought about creating common areas, which would not only be a GTA room for biology student, but we can start with GTA, a common place, a common room for GTAs, at least for STEM, and then maybe have a bigger one on the university level. But we have been saying this since morning and maybe since yesterday that the chairs and the administration is not so inclined towards spending big bucks on GTA development.
Yeah, that makes sense and is one of those barriers that comes into play, right?
Yep.
But definitely having that space and the opportunity, I'm seeing it echoed here, that it's a great idea to have that larger community. And that was something that I saw back at UCLA, and our CERTL program students frequently mentioned having students from other groups is helpful. So it sounds like that's being echoed in a couple places. I do have a question for you, and in particular, when you said working with a mentor, where you were talking about that, were you referring to a TA mentor or a faculty mentor? And do you have thoughts on whether one might be better than the other, or if there's anything we can do to help prepare those folks who might mentor them?
So as a lab coordinator, I'm there for them. So I do have an online class that they take, how to work Canvas and this and that, but then we practice, and the optimum is they practice before they go into the class. So have a mock presentation before they go in. I work with them, and generally, not generally, always, when this their first semester of teaching, they've watched somebody teach. Either it's a faculty member or an experienced senior GTA who has done it for several years.
Gotcha. I could see benefits to a little bit of both, right? That's awesome. Great. So Frank's saying we've offered grad faculty release time to incentivize their serving as mentors. Oh, that's great. That's really cool. And we have here Adam sharing, we have a grad certificate program at the university level, and their biggest piece of feedback is the value of having that cross-campus TA community. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Absolutely. And micro-credentialing is the keyword here these days that's coming up. So I have developed a micro-credentialing for teaching STEM lab, which includes the online module and then teaching a course for one semester. So then we go back to having 2 semesters.
Awesome. Yeah, that definitely provides a good incentive. And again, it's something that kind of came up earlier, right? Incentivizing, getting past, letting people see the value in this training for sure. Yeah. I'm getting an update. We're at $399, maybe close to 400 folks on the list. Go ahead.
Is this your course catering to PhD doctoral students or master students or a mix?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. They have to have 18 credit hours before they can teach.
Right. I realize that. So those of us here in the South that are accredited by SACS,
We are one of those.
you're in there, right?
Yeah.
So they can't be in the classroom by themselves until they have 18 credit hours of graduate time. So that's where the mentoring comes in for us, is we kind of get around that by making sure we assign a mentor to be there with them. Because I mean, really, I mean, we've got 38 sections of labs to teach. And so it's really important, you know, the heavy lifting is done by a lot of our TAs, but you got to put a grad faculty mentor in there if they're under 18 hours. That's something I wanted to mention too, is we offer graduate credit for that TPD course instead of it just being a weekly meeting. They can get 2 hours of credit, which helps them get to that 18-hour credit mark. So if you can work that in to yours, it could help you get your TAs eligible to be GTFs quicker than GTAs, you know? So that might be something.
Salary for GTF and GTA is same for us, and we do use them to prep for these labs while they get their 18 hours. So they also know the behind the scene, what goes into prepping for the labs, and we are able to use them that way. And that also gives them a little bit of experience that, experience to troubleshoot, especially in labs, because sometimes things don't work out.
You mentioned giving them feedback on how much time it takes them to prepare lessons. Do you provide any substrate for them, like teaching notes or anything like that to model from?
Since, like you said, we have several sections. I, as a coordinator, develop the PowerPoint and the activities and everything else that goes into, and we do provide the students that. So when they practice during the PTT before they are teaching a class, that is the time they realize that this much time is going to go into it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.